but it was the words of Apollo, transmitted through his oracle, that resonated most deeply with the Greeks. The oracle's predictions were transmitted through the frenzied words of an old priestess who interpreted the answers of the god. In a cave, the faithful awaited the response from the priestess, who, in a state of trance, recited prophetic words regarding the route to follow and where they should land. By following these directions, and probably those of sailors as well, the first Greeks reached the shores of the island of Ischia in the Gulf of Naples about 2,800 years ago. This marked the beginning of the Greek colonization of southern Italy, a vast territory given the name of Magna Graecia, which in Latin means Great Greece. But what was Magna Graecia? Basically, a group of polis, or city-states, whose wealth and power would soon exceed that of the Greek cities of the motherland. For the Greek settlers, used to the searing sun, aridness, and mountains of their homeland, Italy was a true paradise on earth, with its mild climate, abundant watercourses, and fertile plains. From the first cities sprang more. The inhabitants of Sybaris, founded by Peloponnesian Greeks, built Poseidonia, now Paestum. The people of Cumae, originally founded by Greeks from the island of Euboea, created Parthenope, which was to become the Athens of the West and is now known as Naples. Many of the residents of Naples are thus of Greek origin, direct descendants of those early settlers from Euboea. Naples is the commercial and cultural heart of the Mezzogiorno, Italy's south, the promised land of the ancient Greeks. Excavations for the new subway line through the center of Naples have turned out to be a window on the city's past. Work in such sites as Piazza Municipio has uncovered not only the old Aragonese walls, but also provided a chance to view a much deeper cross-section of the city's historical layers. Archaeologists from the Naples Monuments and Fine Arts Service have found numerous objects of Greek origin, such as the small fragment of an Attica vase dating back to the 4th century BC, decorated with the figure of an owl. Naples remained a Greek city for many centuries, even during the domain of the Roman Empire. The Romans were fascinated by Greek culture, and for them Naples represented Greece, only 120 miles from their home, an open door to the allure and refinement of the Orient. Along the hills of Posillipo, a name taken from the Greek Posilipon, meaning the place where one's troubles end and rest can be found, the wealthy Romans built dozens of beautiful villas. Wanting to blend in, the Romans were happy to exchange their togas for the Greek pallium, to converse in Greek, listen to Greek music, and commission copies of Greek works of art. But Naples was not just a tourist attraction, a sort of amusement park for the Romans. The city was a capital of culture in its own right, where one could be born, live, and die in the manner of the Greeks, as Virgil liked to say. And it was here in Naples that the great author of epics wrote the Aeneid. Reproductions of masterpieces of Greek sculpture were much sought after, a big business at the time. Thousands of masterpieces from the Parthenopean school flooded the world, a veritable legacy of Greek art. The rich Romans paid, and paid quite well, to have imitations of famous works of art grace their villas and gardens. Another aspect of Greek culture the Romans appreciated was theater. To stand on the stage of the Naples Theater was the dream of every artist, the consecration of a life, a yardstick of success. The ruins of the Naples Theater have been found buried under later constructions. If you go down into the basements of private residences now standing on the spot, you can discover what remains of the theater, made famous partly because it was the site of an exceptional premiere appearance. The Emperor Nero himself made his debut as a poet in this theater. Nero loved both poetry and music, and performed many times on this stage before an audience whom he spoke with in Greek. Not far from the theater is a section of Naples named for the Virgins. Here, hidden behind this door, several yards underground, is a veritable treasure, a Greek hypogeum from the 3rd century BC. Hypogea were large subterranean chambers having the dual function of being a burial ground and a sanctuary. It was in the hypogea, for example, where ceremonies were held dedicated to the Oriental god Mithra, who was worshipped widely in Naples. This well-preserved one, the Crystallini Hypogeum, was built outside the city walls in an area that in ancient times was nothing but forests and fields. Everything here evokes Naples' ancient past, even though it is quite probable that the bones and skulls date back only to the 17th century, the period of the Great Plague during the Spanish rule. The discovery of the chamber only 100 years ago amazed archaeologists with its finely conserved state. There are votive edicula and delicately frescoed walls with figures still glowing in bright colors, and funerary urns for the mortal remains of the deceased. But what is perhaps most striking are the touching farewells to the departed, written in Greek on the walls. Here a father addressed his daughter, Aristogoras, with touching simplicity. "Goodbye, my beloved daughter." In the central part of the city is the spacious Agora. This plaza was the center of the social life of the city and the site of its market. It is incredible, but shops like these under the arcades have been here for over 2,000 years. And it is amazing to note that these narrow streets all have the same width, about 10 feet, and are spaced at regular intervals of 115 feet. The explanation given by archaeologists is that the modern-day streets still follow more or less exactly the Greek streets that were laid out when the city was founded 2,500 years ago. An example is the present-day Via Tribunali, which follows one of the two principal axes of the Greek city, and is one of the few broad avenues in Naples. The Agora is also famous for its magnificent temples. The Church of San Paolo Maggiore is the classic example of a Christian edifice standing on the ruins of a pagan temple. The ancient temple was dedicated to the Dioscuri, Zeus's twin sons, who were doomed to live and die on alternating days. Only these two beautiful Corinthian columns remain. But when it was new, the temple existed on a grandiose scale. We can once again view the great temple as it appeared almost 2,000 years ago. Thanks to a Greek inscription found nearby, it turns out that the temple was restored in the 1st century AD during the reign of the Emperor Tiberius, at the expense of two rich liberti, freed slaves who had become administrators of the imperial family's wealth. Through recent studies that established the ancient route of the perimeter walls, archaeologists now have a view of the entire ancient city of Naples. The city is of modest size, but completely encircled by a mighty defensive system of walls and turrets, fortifications that stood up to Hannibal and his elephants during the Second Punic War. Yes, even Hannibal paid a visit to Naples. From the top of the walls, you could have witnessed the dramatic events recounted by the Roman historian Titus Livy that took place in the area near the present-day Piazza Dante in the heart of Naples. Livy wrote, The cavalry of the Neapolitan army succeeded with rapid sorties to sow confusion in the enemy ranks, and thus forced Hannibal to abandon his siege. Walking through the streets of modern-day Naples, you can see traces in the features and gazes of the Neapolitans of the incredible mix of races that marked this corner of the Magna Graecia during the Hellenic and Roman period. Egyptians, Romans, Italians, Illyrians, and Africans were all accepted within the city walls into the community founded by the Greeks, an exemplary demonstration of tolerance.